All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're back, and I tell you, I feel like I say this every show, but that's the good fortune I have been so well allowed by our creator or whoever you want to say that is responsible for all this stuff on this little planet.
Yep.
And that is, I get to learn from the best experts on the planet on a weekly, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, depending on how many guests we have in our studio here. And I'm like, man, thank goodness there are some very smart people out there, because if you all count on me, it never would be all messed up. But if we count on experts like my guest here, Bryson Brown, he is the owner of WireNuts Electrical. And WireNuts, that's an interesting name. You want to talk about that? That's kind of a cool name. But I didn't realize it's WireNuts. I always knew it was WireNuts, but it's really the nut of the wire. I mean, you have a bolt and a nut.
It's what makes the connections.
It's what makes the connections. The world would not be here if it was not for WireNuts.
It's all about making connections. WireNuts Electrical Solutions is helping us make connections just throughout the community with the people, old, young, man, woman, and everything else in between. So I think that WireNuts making connections, that's what they do. So it just fits perfectly.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize it, because it seems like a very basic component for your electrical whatever. But I don't know how many. I've done a little wiring. I've changed the you pull the thing off and take the light fixtures and that kind of stuff. But there's times when I had to stop what I was doing, run up to Lowe's just to get wire nuts.
Okay.
It's like, I'm going to spend 79 cents here, but I can't get this job done.
You cannot get the job done. You cannot make those connections properly. Now, granted, there's some people out here who can make some connections without wire nuts.
Well, that's what I'm about to say. I could do the job and just let the wires kind of hang there, and I might come back to a nice warm place.
Yeah.
Very warm. Like
somebody turned on the chimney, huh? Yeah.
We have a fire here, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody bring any marshmallows?
Oh, yeah.
They were in the kitchen, but it's all black and burned now because we didn't have wire nuts.
And so is everything in the refrigerator and everything on the second floor, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when this electrical job that we talked about in the first show, if you guys missed that, watch it. Bryson gave us some awesome information about that. How to fix this Victorian home, how to fix old home. But new homes even have these issues. They might be a little more up to date with handling more necessary, because now we have 17 electrical devices we plug into one room, right?
Yep.
And that causes a bigger draw, and then you need a higher amperage.
Oh man, I know y'all can relate to everybody who's got one of those new air fryers, and you plug it up in your microwave, you're warming up some tea or something in the microwave, and the whole kitchen shut down. That's because our energy consumption is getting a little greater, especially for circuits around the kitchen.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's another thing. Along those lines, another important question. It might be good. It's not on my list of questions, but what's it really cost? What is somebody? And we do actually. What is the cost for somebody? How does somebody get started with you? We're going to ask that in a minute. But if somebody needs to just have a basic, you were talking about just having a separate, different. Let's talk about that space heater thing and talk about. Let's say you get a room, because I can buy the light bulb that I can remotely control because it's built with the sensors in it that do the smart things. Mm-hmm. But I ain't taking out that socket and the thing and unplugging the screws and pulling the switch out and putting a new switch in there that could do the same thing that I could control with my phone.
Right.
Just for an upgrade. But even more than that, just to get more power available. And what do people really need to do to make sure they're averting burning their house down? Little bitty upgrades you talked about that are important, so they don't cause those problems.
Some smaller upgrades that I would influence is you can start with your panel, and you can start putting in ground fault breakers or arc fault breakers. Those are more along safety type of devices, and arc fault breakers will reduce the chance of your house catching on fire because those breakers will open, which means that circuit will shut down if it sees an arc. So especially homes with old 2-prong outlets, the cord barely wants to stay in the wall. When the plug is barely in there and it's barely making connection, that arcing is
So
hazardous.
yeah, I had my buddy who's a master electrician. I told you the comment, said, hey man, you don't have to spend that much. But he talked about arcing all the time. And that's essentially, it's creating an arc from this connection to that. They're not connected together, so the electrical jumps across it and that causes sparks, or what's going on there?
No, so arcing is, I mean, you can just use the hotline. So basically, it's the how do I want to say, something that's not making a great connection, and it's constantly keep making that connection, and it keep making, and everything. You ever plug something up and it spark at you? You plug it up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So that's what arcing is. So but a arcing that is keeps happening, and sometimes you don't see it. You don't always see that arcing, but that arcing is happening inside, and that's how those outlets ended up burnt in the manner that they did because of the repeated arcing on the inside.
Okay, yeah, and those arcing, that's what I was talking about. So it's causing some electrical.
It's because of the metal components not making a good secure connection.
Yeah, and so that's where I've seen sparks come out of the outlet at me, and I'm like, I'm glad there wasn't a tank of gasoline sitting here. We would have had an explosion.
Yeah,
is that true? Because that's the spark.
Yeah.
It only takes a spark to blow up your house. I mean, literally. Yeah. And people don't realize. And they're just plugging something. I want a little spark. Oh, cool. Be glad. Anyway, in a house, it's harder to do. Most people aren't carrying around gasoline tanks in their house.
No. But people need to know. I mean, obviously nobody. If you worked in a wood milling factory, you would pay attention to how the electricity is installed in there, because you wouldn't want to go into a wood mill factory and just flip on a light switch. Right? That'd probably be the last time you do that.
We get one shot at this. If it doesn't go so well, you will never have that. Worry about doing it.
But
again.
then too, it's up to how those buildings are designed. So the competent designers and installers, we're putting in safety switches, because the common person, they don't know, and we can't put that responsibility on the people. We have to educate the people and give them the devices that they need so that we can all live in this world safely.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about there's other countries, I'd say, and more likely that this happens. They just building and putting stuff together and make the wires connect, and they don't realize that and why there's so many more fires.
It's happening here when you choose, unlicensed contractors. You're really putting yourself in that type of situation.
Third world country type situation.
Yeah, because you don't, because as a customer, as a consumer, you don't know. You're trusting that this person is doing what you're paying them to do in a professional manner. But if they don't have the training, then it's aspects that they don't know.
Yeah, the wire is just black goes over here, white goes over here, copper over there. Let it go.
Where is here and where is there?
What's that going to? Well, I read the diagram. I think I got it right.
Okay.
We are talking about potential big problems. All right.
Yes.
So along those lines, that was pretty much answering my next question. What's the biggest mistake? And I think what you're saying is you better find somebody who's a professional to do this correctly. I happen to know somebody, everybody, sitting here right inside our studio, and obviously beyond just really knows what he's doing. He's a master, and very important.
Yes,
because
sir.
You can save a whole lot of hassle,
yes,
including lives.
Yes, sir. Right. Yeah, and I like to think our prices are fair, for our clients, for people who want to do home renovations, and look, the price of everything is going up. So I'm not gonna say no project is cheap, right? I'm not gonna use that type of terminology. I don't want to install no false hope into nobody. These things, they cost, and they can cost up to a couple $1,000s. But if you spend the money with the right person, you're going to get a good bang for your buck. Well, I should say bang, but
yeah, no, you're right. Bang for the buck. I got it. I know there's other ways that can be interpreted, but that's a fair one. Bang for the buck. Yeah. And literally, I mean, you want to make sure. And this is where we just talk about it. My dad told me years ago. Dad told me again. I bring up my dad a lot because hey, lucky to have a dad that and whatever. But yeah, do it right, man. Because every time you cut corners, and the other thing along that we kind of talked about a little bit is. Become an expert at something in your career, in your life. You've got to specialize in something. I would not say, would you tell me, Bryson Carter, I can also fly an airplane. too, and make sure.
I would not tell you.
Right.
A paper airplane, man, and it is going to crash. Right. Just FYI.
But I would imagine that if you decided to dedicate 2 or 3 or 5 years to that, you could.
For sure.
But you're doing really well with what you do, and you had to specialize, and the reason we want that specialization is because now you know how to make sure a house does not burn down.
Yes, sir.
And it'll be certified per se, we talk about code. Yep. You got to follow the code.
Yep.
They have people that come around, and you talked about this on the pregame prep, which was interesting. Like if they see a box that's a little bit off, just the box is turned. Everything in it is electrically wired properly.
Yep.
But the electrical container, what do you call that?
The presentation of it. Yes, sir. The panel box. Yeah. I mean, yeah. With doing professional installations, there's more to it than just hooking up wires the right way. Right?
Right.
With a journalist, it's more to writing a news article than just putting periods in the right spot. You got to make sure you're talking about the right thing first off. So yes, sir, it is. Yes, it's definitely more to it than just hooking up the wire.
Yeah, but my point to that was, you've had people, they came in and they said that box is a little tilted. It doesn't look like it's right, even though everything could have been correctly wired inside of it. But the code is the code for the reason, and this is how we do stuff.
That's
and
right.
It's got to be done right. And thank goodness that they demand that, because that keeps a whole lot of other problems from happening.
For sure, yes it does.
All right. Whew, I'm glad we're covering some important stuff for everybody. I can sleep at night. Actually, I might have him take a look at some of our electrical stuff sometime at my house.
For sure.
Just to make me sleep a little better at night, so that I can go, okay, a couple things I got a couple space heaters.
What?
And
You can't
come over to the house
boy.
sometime, and I'll take you. I'll show you. Maybe I'll buy you a big tall glass of milk. I've got my glass.
Glass of milk.
I got my glass of milk. I finished it. That's the Cardinal Cowboy glass. For everybody, right there. Get your glass at cardinalcowboy.com. But and we give hats to the guys that deserve it. So this is right there. We were on the Your Little Castle show.
Oh yeah.
User, thank you.
I was here, y'all.
That's right. And where that has, because people, hey man, did you know we had a half-hour interview and you want to learn about an expert who really knows this stuff? 2 half hours we're doing with Bryson here, because let's do like 6 more half hours, and maybe we'll learn, by the time we're done with 6 half hours, we'll learn 7% of what this gentleman knows.
Oh yeah.
Because of what he does. All right. Tell me, Tommy, you've had a couple instances where you kind of described this to me. Mm-hmm. A couple were interesting. I know how sometimes people, oh, you did a great job, and then after you get done, they're like, well, I'm like, what are you talking about? You did things to save them. And then people still don't really appreciate what you did. That's kind of crazy, but I get that. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
But do you have another example of something where you just came through for somebody and they were in a tough situation and you really helped them?
I did. It was, so we're based out of the Ferguson, Florissant area. And I had a lady that moved into the Ferguson area. If anybody know anything about the Ferguson area, we got a lot of beautiful homes, and a lot of these homes are approaching 100 years, if some are already have their 100-year tag on their front door. But she had one of those houses, and of course, when she got there, she moved from North Carolina. She moved into the Ferguson area. As soon as she stepped foot, I don't even think she finished unpacking, and she called us up because she had lost power to half the kitchen and the living room and here and there. And I mean, we was just looking for things. We was like, man, you probably gonna have to cut this wall open to re-energize this circuit. So we was planning to do that, and I was like, let me just get one more good look. And we looked in the garage, and it was an old knob and tube line that was, somebody had fed it into a metal box, and inside the box had a clamp. So it was clamping down on both the hot and the neutral wire, and I think it had broke through the old insulation. It was just causing a short. And we found that, repaired that for that lady. Saved her what could have turned out to be thousands of dollars.
That's what I'm talking about, because there's so much you just don't realize it's even happening, especially until you have somebody come in and look at it, right?
Yeah.
Because how would you, there's no way to detect that kind of thing.
No, I mean, you literally have to go around and open up almost everything on that particular circuit to find that. And that's what we started to do. And we just was like, okay, well, this is out. This old box. And there was the problem. But you have to know troubleshooting. You have to know some signs of things to look for. And yeah, sometimes you can get lucky, sometimes you can't.
Well, that's a great example, and you essentially saved her from potentially spending. Oh well, let's just rewire the whole house for you. And she didn't need that.
Basically, in a nutshell, yeah, it would have definitely been rewiring the kitchen because it should have been rewired anyway before she got there, in my opinion. But sometimes people leave things, if it worked, it worked. So
right. And they don't know any better, and they're not experts, so that's how they do the walkthrough, right?
Right.
I do mortgage stuff and all that. They do the walkthrough.
Everything worked then.
Good. The switch, cool. All right.
As soon as you turn that switch on, pop that circuit. They're like, yeah, we have somebody come look at that.
Once you bought it, you bought it.
Yeah,
right?
it's your problem now.
Yeah, so that's what you end up dealing with.
Sir.
All right. Well, give me a little bit from it. And you and I, we fixed a little problem Bryson had with his website before we were down here.
Yes, we did.
And we took care of that, and he did a happy dance right here in the studio.
And I even gave him a hug. He ain't put that on camera.
And I gave him a hug too, but I'm like, just be careful, don't knock over my TVs.
Yeah, he did.
Because those have to be. You do low wattage things also, like
we do low voltage. We do no voltage fiber installations. We do it all. If it's electric or transmit electric or some sort electric power, yeah, we're there.
Yeah. And what we're talking about is like speaker wire, alarm wire, what other kind of wire?
Cat 6.
Yeah,
Cat
network
5,
wires.
yes,
okay.
sir.
Network, Cat 5, Cat 6, yep. And all those things. So anything that can be wired, you can pretty much do it. And you did stuff like for AT&T or T-Mobile.
We did work for
fiber
AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, yes, sir. Go. We did communication work all across the board, yes, sir.
Okay, and you service, let's make sure everybody understands, you service the whole St. Louis area all the way. How far do you go, typically?
At home, we usually go from about Wentzville down to Peevely. Okay. We service over in Illinois. We do Belleville, Cahokia.
Do you go down south, Arnold, Fenton area?
Yeah. So Peevely is past.
Yeah, so
Arnold.
Peevely's like kind of west, but South Arnold, I guess. I grew up real close to L.A. Lower Arnold.
Lower Arnold.
Not Los Angeles.
I
grew up in Fenton. I was in West L.A.
Okay.
Otherwise known as Fenton.
Okay. Yeah.
L.A. is short for Lower Arnold.
I've been out. We got some projects out in Fenton.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. Well, so you essentially the whole metro area, St. Louis metro area.
St. Louis metro area for sure, but we do work. We are licensed in Columbia, Missouri. We are licensed in Jefferson City. We are licensed in Springfield, Missouri.
So it's not just a Missouri license then. You have to get it per city then too, or how does that work?
I am a Missouri licensed electrician, but every town you go to, you have to play by their rules.
Gotcha. That's important because they do have. The guys we were talking about that were helping us in the house in Fayette were like, well, some places uses the codes from 2015.
That's right.
Some people use the codes from 2022.
Yes, sir.
Now we got the codes from 2024. We're
Yep.
about to take codes for 2025.
Yeah.
Another thing people don't know that they have to worry about.
Yes, sir. And as an electrical contractor, you have to be aware of those jurisdictions, what code that they're on. You know what I mean?
And that can vary from town to town, and they're right next to each
It
other.
does vary from town to town. It very much does.
Like Overland and Maryland Heights.
Not really
So
on that aspect. So most St. Louis County, if they're under this bubble of St. Louis County, is usually under St. Louis County, or some faction of therefore, St. Louis City and St. Louis County is separate.
Okay.
But when you get out into the other smaller rural places, then they start doing their own thing. Jefferson County,
doing their own thing.
Peevely.
That's kind of scary to think.
Well, I mean, I don't say doing their own thing in a
But
bad way.
but they literally we go by this guy told me, he says some of the towns you're going to visit, they're going to have a code. That's 2015.
Yeah, I went to Arnold, and Arnold told me they was on a 2020 code. I was like, wow, you rarely hear anybody that's on a 2020 code. So Arnold, for y'all electricians that's listening to this, When you're in Arnold, you better ask.
2020 versus some places are still on the 2015 is what I'm saying.
A lot of
not too many are up
places
to date like that.
I don't know. I think the city might be on 14.
14.
But the county is on 17. Okay. And I think it's really about time for them to update that. So just heads up, everybody out there doing, electrical remodels, the code cycle is about to change. It's going to make things a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, well, it's another thing you got to figure out. If you don't have it, they'll want to prove it. You can't live there.
Yeah.
Is that true? Or you got to fix the project before they can use it or whatever, if it's part of the house that they need to.
If a lot of places go like this. If you're living there or if you buy houses, I know Ferguson, if you buy a house, they don't necessarily do inside inspections. But if you're renting a house, a lot of times you have to bring that house up to code because they do not want children.
Right.
I think is really more or less what they're looking out for. They don't want children to go into unsafe situations, sticking things in outlets. Therefore, they make us put in tamper-proof outlets and things like that, which, I mean, is totally understandable. They want ground fault protection. They want arc fault protection because they want to protect life. So,
sure. Yeah, and that's what we figure. And now the things have changed. We talked about because there's not 7 or 8 appliances in the house. There's
yes, sir.
127 appliances that people have in their houses. So take note of that, everybody. Make sure you're up to code, and you're probably not, and you don't even know it, and you may not need to worry about it until you make a change, typically, or it might be worth just getting some of that stuff addressed if you're going to have more juicy power outlets and power consumption.
If you're fortunate enough to be out here renovating houses, please get your electric updated by a licensed professional. Okay, that's first off. If you're doing small renovations around the house, ask somebody, how can we make this thing safer? Right? Let electricity, our use of electricity be that important. We don't want to just be plugging things in and just keep plugging things in. Let's make sure that we're thinking about our family and our properties. You know what I mean?
I got a power strip, everybody. It's got 8 more plugs I can put on right here. Come on, you got the PlayStation, your cell phone, your laptop, blender, microwave, a heater. Plug it in. We need more. Plug another power strip into the last plug on the power strip.
Yeah.
How often is that?
Oh, we see it all the time, for sure.
Yeah, just here to have a little fun playing Nintendo. All right, well, here's the things we need to talk about. We've got 7 minutes left here already. Gosh. All right. Technology has changed things dramatically for the world that we're in right now. What's the process? Somebody says, Bryson, I can tell you are a master genius, world famous now, unbelievable, incredible, and awesome electrician. How do I hire you? What's the process?
Give us a call, first off, and you're probably going to be greeted by, most of you all know, Letitia.
She's over. Say hi, Letitia. They can hear you.
Hey.
There she is. All right.
You all are going to probably be greeted by either Letitia or Jasmine first, and they will take your request, and they should pass it on to me accordingly. And a lot of you guys get Letitia sometimes if you're doing light installations or replacements or things of that nature. So she is one of my electricians on the team.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and you've got a number of electricians working for you.
Yes, we do.
You're the master electrician.
Yes, sir. We take on residential projects and commercial projects.
Well, and that's covers most of it right there, I guess.
Yeah, it covers a great portion.
Either residential or commercial. I guess we're working on jobs that might be done on Mars. Do you do Mars yet?
I have not been on Mars yet, but I did work for a company that put they battery charged put one of the rovers on Mars.
Really?
It was actually out there in Fenton.
Really?
Yeah.
I grew up in Fenton. I love those guys. I got to check. Played lots of baseball there. We'll have to check up with those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to put up on the wall for everybody. Take a look. Good looking website you got here. So all information you may need. And you saw the phone number there. I'll put that up there on the screen too. So there's the phone number, 314-380-0004.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
and then I'll take that off the screen so we can see the website. But you can see some of the work, some of the places, some of the buildings, some of the houses. and lots of great bullet points. That's what I said. You did good there. Got bullet points. Get a quote, and somebody clicks to get a quote, and then you can get more information. It takes them to the BBB, and I've got few more tips. That's good there, right? So you can get some information, fill out the form there, and that comes to you. The BBB is helping you with that. That's cool. And I recommended to Bryson. I partnered with a company because I could see the issue, and 90% of my small business friends do not have the marketing automation that will literally could double their revenue if they had this in place. So I'm offering him. I said, we're gonna help you out with that.
Yes, sir.
And it's so inexpensive in these days, but it's great, and we'll talk about that. And it ties into the websites. We got his website back up running for him.
Yeah.
He had a little technical issue before the show started. We took care of that because that's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
I just said I'll just do that for you. Let's just get that taken care of. All right. So phone call, fill out the form. Those are the two basic ways.
Yeah.
Call in. Letitia's going to answer. Fill out the form. Letitia's going to grab the phone number and call you, and that's how we get things done. And then they got the AI stuff, and I'll talk to you all about that later. There's AI stuff that you just can't believe is out there, but I know because that's the world I live in, and my business partner, Marlon, who you all have heard me talk about, is the master for all of that. I do that stuff, but I'm like, you do that, I got to do this TV show. This TV show helps people really explain who they are. It becomes your salesperson for you 24/7, and that's often the case for people that are saying, I need help, but you're not available at 2 o'clock in the morning. In this case, you might be, but but you don't answer the phone very often, I would imagine, at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's an emergency, I guess you might. But
We do answer emergency calls. We are listed to be 24/7. So if you have an emergency, we have had emergency calls even recently. Christmas time, lights and everything going on. Call us. If you have questions, call us. Don't hesitate.
All right. Well, then with that, the last question of the show here, and we have now 2 minutes. What's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome from a business perspective or in life or when you're helping a guest and they just, this was a problem, they didn't even see it coming, they had no idea what was going on, and we talked about this maybe a little earlier, or one business thing, because I like to help people realize, everybody's like, oh yeah, started my business, haven't had a problem since I started, I've been 30 years. That is absolutely impossible. There's been some kind of hurdle you've had to overcome, some kind of challenge that helped you to realize, and it made you stronger and better. And how long have you been in business now? Is that 17 years? Or did you work for yourself? When did you start?
We started WireNuts in 2022. Okay. So before then, I've been, practicing the craft, working for other great companies and things of that nature. But we've been out here since 2022,
Yeah, and with that,
with a license.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying, 17 years of experience.
Yes.
And like I said, I learned 90% of what I learned working for somebody else, and I want to start my own thing. And that's what we're doing here. I did it once, came back and then I lost a huge contract. It was millions because they could do it themselves. And I get it. I taught them too much, or so they thought. But anyway, they figured it out eventually. But I mean, we all have those kind of things to say. I want to go back, as we finish up, you love working for yourself.
I do.
That's what we all help every business do, because there are some experts out there who just haven't taken the leap. But hopefully you've got enough encouragement here from a young man who has been doing this for a long time to take that on and change the world and see if you can make an impact. And we hope you do take that opportunity and you learn a little bit here from Mr. Bryson Brown, who has taken the time to sit down with us. If you need electrical work, call this guy. He will take care of it. Letitia will be the one to set everything up, and their whole team will make sure it gets done. Thanks, everybody. Giddy up.